Hello and welcome to the International Student Experience, a Swansea University podcast dedicated to showcasing the stories of inspiring students from around the world who've chosen to study in the UK. My name is Dav Turner and I'll be your host, and in today's episode we have a truly inspiring guest joining us. So please welcome me in joining Kuuku Anim, an exceptional individual who's overcome numerous challenges and triumphed in his pursuit of his education. Kuuku, originally from Ghana, made the life-changing decision to study abroad, embarking on a remarkable journey that's led him to Swansea University. With his drive, determination and passion for legal technology, his story is one that resonates with everyone. From being the first person in his family to study law, to facing the limitations and lack of support for blind students, Kuuku's experience has shaped him into a resilient and tenacious individual. So welcome to the podcast, Kuuku.
Thank you, Dav.
So can you begin by telling us where your passion for legal technology began?
So generally, I'm a science and maths person. I've always loved science and maths because I believe that they answer a lot of the questions that the universe has presented to us. You know, the universe is full of mysteries, and so science and maths help us unravel the mystery surrounding the universe. So I remember when I was a kid, I used to lie on my back just to look into the sky and look into the stars and just lose myself in that. So way back when I was like a kid, like 3 years, I wanted to be an astronaut because I wanted to go to space and look at how, have a view of the world from, let's say, the surface of the moon, for example, and look at how like the stars right in space as well. And so I've loved science and maths. In Ghana, unfortunately, I'm blind, and because of that, we are not able to do science and maths into details, but I've carried that passion all throughout. So after high school, I decided to do law because I had grades that permitted me to do law. So I did that, but I wasn't really enjoying the course so much. So I decided to find something that is related to the law and my passion for science as well. So I started looking into technology and law, science and law and stuff like that. And lo and behold, I found legal tech, and I was like, okay, cool. It's basically legal tech there are two sides to legal tech. The part about using technology to advance the practice of law, and the part about regulating the rapid advancement of technology. So I fell in love with the part that deals with using technology to advance the practice of law. And that's how come that's what has fueled my passion for legal tech after I found it.
How did you find Swansea? How did Swansea end up on your radar?
Funnily enough, there's a whole story behind it. I chanced on Swansea University by accident. So in course of my research, Swansea University did not come up as a possible destination for the kind of course I wanted. A friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, contacted me to look into natural renewable resources and oil and gas for him. And when I started looking into that, Swansea was the foremost university that came. And so I told him about it. And I remember around 2 a.m. at dawn, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't also study. And a friend of mine asked me to do something for him. So I went to his room, got that done, and we're just having a chat. And I decided to go through the LLM programs offered by Swansea University, and I found legal tech. I went onto the course description page, I read it, and I absolutely fell in love with legal tech from Swansea. And that's how I found Swansea University.
Did your friend come here in the end?
No, he didn't come here, but we hope he will come maybe next year. He's currently doing his professional law course back in Ghana, so maybe after that he'll come here.
Okay, so you came here to do your master's, and now you're studying for your PhD.
Exactly.
Is there anything in particular that made you really want to stay here and study your PhD? Was it just your passion for legal tech here?
Yeah. So when I came to do my master's here, the environment particularly for legal tech was amazing. So I have really, really great lectures, and then Swansea University, from my further research, is like one of the foremost universities on legal tech because we had the legal innovation lab. So it gives Swansea University the opportunity to, further look into legal tech issues. So I decided that based on my experience as a legal tech student with like the great lectures I had and my performance for the program, I decided to stay to continue because then again, what I worked on for my master's dissertation is basically what I'm doing for my PhD, although like a step further. So it makes a lot of sense if I stay over with the same supervisor who supervised me for my master's to continue with my PhD. Yeah,
Excellent. And you're enjoying your PhD?
absolutely. Stressful though, but I enjoyed it.
What are you hoping to do with the PhD? Are you going to take it back home to Ghana afterwards?
I'm building an ontology, which is like a computational artifact. And once I'm done with that, I can use that as the basis to start a company that would look at the automation of compliance checking in the upstream oil and gas sector back in Ghana. So what my PhD is on right now, I'm currently investigating ways to represent legal knowledge in machine readable format, which will then serve as the basis or the core of a system for automating compliance checking. But I'm doing this in relation to the oil and gas sector in Ghana. And there's this part of the oil and gas sector in Ghana where we want to ensure that the oil resources, the monies generated from our oil and gas resources back in Ghana stays within the country. So there's an aspect we call local content and participation. And it is that basically most international companies or all companies operating in the upstream oil and gas sector should ensure that they are using enough locally generated content and local personnel, so Ghanaians working in the sector, so that the monies generated from that sector can stay within the Ghanaian economy.
Who's been the most supportive to you in your pursuit of education?
My nuclear family, my mom, my dad, my brother, and my sister. I always keep telling my friends that I cannot be where I am without the support of my family. A lot of my friends usually think that because of my academic achievements, a lot of my friends usually think I'm very intelligent and stuff like that. But I tell them that the only difference between me and them is that I have a very, very supportive family as opposed to them. Because, in Ghana, a lot of blind people do not have as much family backing as I have. My parents are, and my parents and siblings are ready to put their hands into fire for me if they have to ensure that I progress in life. So my whole family, my nuclear family, have been very, 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 very supportive. And everywhere I go, I say I'm wherever I am because of them. Because till date, my dad will still call me and ask me how is my work going? Have I done A, B, C, D? Am I meeting my objective? Do I need anything? Whenever I need to do anything that I can't do myself, the first person I contact is my brother or my sister to do it for me. As for my mom, she's always been there for me right from like my challenges as a blind person. I keep saying I've been to places with my mom that a lot of people have no idea. Like me and my mom we've really been to the trenches, and only me and my mom know the experiences we've had. So generally, my nuclear family has been very, very supportive of me, and I appreciate that so much.
So studying in the UK would have presented anyone from a different country with a new set of challenges. What sort of support would you have received here at the university?
So back in Ghana, for example, studying as a blind person is really, really difficult. So back in my elementary school days, we had to braille every single material we're supposed to learn. So relied on notes from our teachers. And that was most often the only source of academic material we had. All right. So one of my friends, Emmanuel Asamoah, he's in Spain right now doing a year abroad. We used to go to the library to get like books in Braille that are not necessarily for our academic stuff, but like they are available just to have something to read. And if we needed anything, we had to get it ourselves. So for BEC, the Basic Education Certificate exams in Ghana, there are past questions that are printed in Ghana, hard copy in print, but we didn't have access to that. And there comes my family again. My dad had to get that, go to a cafe and ensure that they transcribed their hard copy into soft copy and edit it. And so that's how come the whole School for the Blind had their first set of past questions. Fast forward to high school in Ghana, then we decided to use the computer to write exams. So then we didn't really know how to type like properly. But me and a few of my friends decided to come together and then try to find a way to use the computer, because we felt using the computer is, number one, faster. Number two, it's easier. And then you don't deal with large volumes of materials to go to. Because, for example, if you look at a Braille book, and it's so voluminous, it's really, really huge. Even the Bible, you can have like one Bible. In Braille, we have every book in the Bible it's like book. And with that, sometimes you can have volume 1, 2, and 3 of a particular book. So it's very, very voluminous, and we couldn't be carrying all that material around. So we decided to use the computer. And again, we had to try ourselves to find the best way of learning how to type properly and stuff like that. And that's how come now blind students are allowed to use computers to write their exams in the high school. As for the university, that was being done. Now, in the university, for law, there are a lot of materials to read. As everybody knows, there are a lot of materials. But then again, not a lot of them had soft copies. So we had to get the materials from, like, go to the library, pick the materials, handouts and stuff like that, and then take it to the Office of Students with Special Needs to transcribe it into soft copy for us so we can have access to it. And we are not the only student there, so there are obviously other students. So sometimes before you get your materials, you have to join the queue and your friends will be studying ahead. Fortunately for us, I had this friend. I always say, but for him, I wouldn't have succeeded in the law school. He's called Frederick. He was the one I looked for the oil and gas and renewable resources for. I mean, he sometimes will come to us and he'll have to be reading like the materials to us. Sometimes when we go and transcribe their books, he would then take it upon himself to edit it for me. I had another colleague who was blind, and mind you, me and another person, Daniel Nkrumah, were the first two blind people to do the undergraduate law, that is LLB, as undergraduate students. So that was the first. Me and Nkrumah were the first blind undergraduate law students the University of Ghana had. And so we had to navigate through. Fortunately, after us, there have been a number of them now. But we're the first people. We paved the way for the others to enter the university. Now, coming to Swansea University, all these hurdles, quote unquote, had been dealt with because there's a transcription team, and usually they get the materials from the lecturers. So before the week begins, I have all the materials I'll need for my lectures. So on Friday, Naomi and Tina would transcribe everything I needed for me in the format I wanted. And then they'll send it to me with no mistakes, articles and everything. Sometimes if I'm looking for articles and I can't even find the article, I send them the title, they retrieve it for me, they transcribe it into a format that I can use and send it to me. Then again, for the legal tech program too, there are certain graphical tools that we were using. So for example, for one of my course, computational thinking, we needed to draw certain diagrams and we're using like graphical tools. but my lecturer Adam Weiner found text codes that I could write, and that would generate the graphics I needed, the diagrams I needed for me, called Plant UML. He found it out, taught me the rudiments, and I was able to draw diagrams, use case diagrams, and whatever diagrams I needed. Also, for the ontology that I'm working on now, I remember Dr. Livio Robaldo called me with the Office for Disabled Students in Swansea, and he asked that, well, they were using a, a web site called Protege to generate this ontology, because then that was a little bit easier for people who do not have coding background. But that again is it's like a graphical tool. So he had to come. We sat down. I sat down with him and the team, and then he decided to organize like private classes for me to teach me how to write out this ontology. So the right codes, the right native code for generating ontologies, and we got that done. And here I am today. There was one other time where I had to develop a tax app for, again, the same course app, computational thing, the same model, computational thinking. And we're using a platform called Afterpattern. Now I started using the platform, and I realized that when I got to arranging the logical blocks, I realized that it wasn't really accessibility friendly. So I went back to Adam, and I was just left with like 2 weeks to submit the coursework. And I was like, okay, that's not working. Let's meet again. We went to SWI. That too was not so friendly. And I told you that, well, I'm going to use Python. So he told me that he was ready to help me apply for extenuating circumstance, so I can submit my coursework after everybody has submitted theirs, because I was now going to learn from scratch Python programming language to be able to design a tax application. And so we initiated that. But fortunately for me, I was able to learn basic to intermediate Python within 2 weeks and design a tax application. And I submitted on time for the coursework. So Swansea University, as far as my academics is concerned, has been super, super, super helpful. And the thing is, everybody is supportive. From my supervisor, Dr. Livio Robaldo, to Adam, Stefano, Inena, to my colleagues. Everybody on the legal tech program was super supportive. So why not continue to do a PhD as well there?
So you've talked a lot about studying at university. What about outside university? Have you got any hobbies or interests?
I'm big on novels. So most of the time, if I'm not studying, I'm reading usually. And then I love to swim. I'm not a professional swimmer though. I prefer to stay in a pool where I can stand in. So if I can't stand in the pool, I'm not getting into it. I love to play football as well. And then currently I'm playing baseball, blind baseball. And I cook. Well, before it was like a necessity, because when I came here for the first time, my mom is not close to me to be cooking for me. Even though when I was in the university, I wasn't with her, but I could go home at any time to eat, and she could visit me at any time to bring me food. But now I'm alone, so I had to find my way around cooking. And after I did that, I sort of enjoy it. Yeah. So that's what I do for fun.
How did you find your way around when it came to cooking?
Usually try and error, I guess. So when I came, the disability department then again helped me with mobility around my hall. So the kitchen, my room outside the building and stuff like that. So they told me where the stove and everything was. Generally, I have an idea as to how to cook. So I just had to implement it, I guess. And I made a lot of mistakes along, but eventually I think I'm a decent cook.
Excellent. You mentioned earlier that you like football, you like swimming, you like baseball. Do you get to do that on campus? Do you do that around Swansea?
There's Sight Life for Swansea. They allow blind people to engage in sporting activities, anything you want to do. For football, the reason why I'm not playing football is because currently the teams that are available are only for under 18s. So I'm 24 now, so I'm above 18. Then the next thing was to play baseball. So, and baseball is just played on the Singleton Park, just here. So what we trained there. So I decided to join them since it's closer to campus. I decided to join them. All throughout last year, I was going to the gym until I started my PhD 1st October.
So we've talked about the support you've had at university. We've talked about the support you've had with family. What about friends? Do you work with anyone else? Are there any other people you know who are doing just as well as you?
Yes. So I have blind friends who are doing amazingly well. I've spoken about one already, Asamoah Emmanuel. He's in Spain right now. So in the University of Ghana, he's doing his first degree. He's part of the best 5 students in the Spanish department, and he's got a scholarship to do a year abroad, and he's in Spain. But that is not even his amazing talent. He's a very good programmer. I have another friend too in Oxford, and they are like my go-to guy, Oxford and Manchester University. Ebenezer Zamati, he's doing his PhD in Oxford now. And Emmanuel Ahin Gerald, he's doing his PhD in Manchester now. And anytime I need advice on PhD, they are like my mentors, because they are in my situation and they are all in their final years. So meaning they've done what I'm now doing. So I'd like to say thank you to these 3 people. They've been there for me.
It's so important to have good support networks.
Yeah.
So you seem to be an incredibly determined person. Is there any advice you would give other young people going through similar challenges, maybe who may not be blind, or just any disadvantages?
I'm not big on advices for people, because what might work for me won't work for you. But what might also work for me may also work for you. So on that basis, I like to. But the first thing I often tell people is the most important thing is finding and knowing yourself. And once you find and know yourself, whatever is thrown at you, you can easily surmount it. Because if you don't know yourself first and foremost, you don't have a sense of direction and a sense of purpose. And at the end of the day, that is what is going to drive you. So first and foremost, find and know yourself. The other ones are more like cliches, but they work. Hard work. A lot of people talk about hard work, but, a lot of, well, we've heard hard work, but it's not paying. But trust me, in my instance, but for hard work, I wouldn't be here. Perseverance as well. Despite no matter how much the odds are against you or are not in your favor, you need to have that spirit to persevere, to get to wherever you want to get to. It is only then that you can achieve your goals. And in course of that, be prepared for mistakes and failures. Because at the end of the day, you definitely make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You fail in certain points. We are not perfect human beings. We always make mistakes. I remember there was this time when I had learned Plant UML fresh, and I was designing a particular use case diagram. And I was trying to run the code and it wasn't running. I was like, what? I sat behind the code for like 3 hours, not knowing what the problem was. Guess what? It was just an omission of a semicolon. and I sat behind my computer for like 3 solid hours to be able to do that. And also, sometimes it's good to listen to yourself. So in Ghana, we do basic education. That is like from year 1 to I think year 9. That's your basic education. So you write a final exams, and that would lead to your promotion to high school. So instead of writing like that final exam in year 9, I wrote it in year 8. And that was because of my dad. I listened to my dad. Now, when I went to high school, and that's 3 years, so like from year 10 to year 12. So instead of writing my final exams so I can go to the next level, which is the university, in year 12, I decided to write it in my first year, year 10. And then a lot of my friends, a lot of my teachers, they were like, no, you wait for at least write it in your second year. And I had this very strong edge. I knew within me that I could do it. And at that point, I shut everybody up in my mind. I said, well, I don't have anything to lose. Let me just go sit it. And I did it, and I had good grades, because in Ghana, one of the toughest courses to get to is law. You need to have excellent grades to get onto that program. And because I knew I just had 1 year, I had to put in a lot of work. So almost all the time I was working hard towards that goal. Maybe if I had listened to everybody, I'll be like, well, I have 3 years. I'll be, procrastinating and thinking I have a lot of time to get it done. And I might not have attained the grades I had when I wrote it the first time. So you need to listen to advice as well. But when that edge within you is stronger, and that your sixth sense, people refer to as intuition, instinct, whatever it is, once you hear it and it's persistent, you listen to it. So this is the little advice I'll give to people in my position as well.
So thank you, Kuuku, and thank you for sharing your story with us today. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to it. And thanks for listening to the International Student Experience podcast by Swansea University. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, subscribe, share it amongst your friends, and make sure you listen to the next few episodes. And if you can, leave us a rating and a review.